All right, welcome back, folks, to Talking Sports with UWL Thomas. I'm delighted to be joined today by a really special guest. He is the host of The Good Shepard on the Infinity Sports Network and also a Sirius XM NBA host as well. Ladies and gentlemen, David Shepard joins the show today. Shep, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Thomas. Thanks for the introduction, man, and thank
Oh,
you.
my pleasure. Absolutely, man. Folks, this has been in the works for some time to get this man on the show. I really respect what he's about and how he has been able to impact the sports media landscape in quite a significant way. So, Shep, to start, why don't you just tell folks just a little bit, about you, like how you first got into radio, and more importantly, just a little bit about your show as well for any listeners interested and potentially tuning in.
Sure. Well, like most people, grew up watching sports, playing sports, and I from that point, as a kid, you want to be around sports as long as possible. And when I got to high school, I was fortunate enough to play varsity basketball, varsity football, but the writing was on the wall at a generously listed 5'9". My athletic career kind of came to a halt, and what better way to continue than to talk about it and to dissect it and to break it down? And I was fortunate enough to do a radio show when I was in college, and I just fell in love with the medium and the back and forth of it. Um, Sports is such a connector. It's such a uniter in so many ways. And I'm very fortunate that, enough people took a chance on me and saw some talent and saw a vision. And, here I am, talking to you, Thomas, you know, almost 20 years later, 20 years after the fact of sitting down in front of a microphone and broadcasting, on a station in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. So it's been quite a ride so far.
Absolutely. And, Shep, you have a show that you do weekend overnights on the Infinity Sports Network, formerly CBS Sports Radio, called The Good Shepherd, um, from 1 to 5 a.m. Central Time, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern Time. And my question for you is kind of like, what do you think like sets like your show like apart from others? Because when I sometimes go back and I'm not always up there in that late night time, but I
Understood.
sometimes like to go back and watch some shows that I miss, because I'm a very busy guy, obviously, but what do you think like sets your show like apart? Because again, from what I see from you, um, you just bring a unique flavor to sports talk radio and the sports media landscape. What do you think makes your show unique and really one that like involves the listeners and everything? Like, kind of talk about like where that came in to like building those connections and valuing the regulars like who call into your show. Just kind of talk a little bit about kind of those
Yeah.
aspects.
Well, Thomas, first off, thanks for the kind words. It's a good question. What makes my show unique, right? Because I think whenever you do this for a living, you want to make sure that um, when someone's listening to your program, that they are getting something incredibly unique, right? Because you're getting the most important aspect of any human being, and that is their time. And so, how do you maximize that time? Well, I think for my show, I want to give you an accurate, thought-provoking, um, interesting, and compelling discussion. I want to give you information that is useful. I want to provide brevity. I want to provide humor in doing it. I want to make sure that it's a fun listen, that it's an easy listen. Um, I know that life is really challenging for a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
Mhm.
And when I do my show, it's an opportunity for people to be among positive energy and to be in a space where it's easygoing and it's fun and it's loving. I want it to be a safe space. I want it to be a platform where people feel comfortable, that they trust. And the beautiful thing about radio specifically is you are creating, if you're doing it right, you're creating a community. You're creating must listen appointment, content where people feel welcome and they feel like it becomes a part of their routine and a part of their commute or a part of their weekend. And I take a lot of pride in that. So I don't just want it to be a space where people listen to sports debate, sports content. I want it to be a space where people feel like, hey, this is part of me,
Mhm.
and I have a voice on this platform, and it's not just David Shepard's opinions, it's not just his takes, it's my takes too. And I get to be a part of a platform and a station that, disseminates to over 300 markets across North America and is heard worldwide, on the Odyssey app. Like that's something that I want to be a part of because my opinion matters, Thomas. I hope the takeaway from my show is that people listen to it and they say, you know what, Shep does a good job, but I really liked what this caller had to say too. That was an
Mhm.
interesting perspective. It's a space that welcomes a multitude of opinions and viewpoints and is not just relegated to one human being's takes. Because I think that's not conducive to a program that I'd want to listen to, where it's just one person the entire time. So I take a lot of pride in the connections that I built in the past 5 years and
Mhm.
hosting the Good Shepherd, and I'm very proud of that.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, like building a community, building a family, is really important. And that's something that I can see that your show has done, and the callers and just how laid back everything is too is great. Because when I look sometimes at the sports media landscape, when I look sometimes at the national like sports radio, or even sometimes even more locally, it kind of just feels like there isn't that laid back, component to it. Compared with your show, it just feels, yeah, more of that like community, more of that family type feel. Shep, I want to have a little fun with this one here quick. In your time hosting the Good Shepherd, do you have like a favorite caller or like a moment that really like stands out, so to speak, from your time hosting the show and being on the Infinity Sports Network?
Yes, I should remember this person's name, but I don't. But I'll never forget someone had just lost their daughter. Um, and I smile at that because not that that's a happy occasion, it's the most tragic circumstance you can possibly imagine for anybody to go through. And this doesn't exactly go to your fun point about this question, so that's why I'm kind of smiling too, so I apologize in advance. But
Okay.
I do remember him using the show as a means to get through, um, his week at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, Thomas, I think all of us can relate to this.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do something with your life that's meaningful, that impacts others, that helps others, because time is the most precious commodity that we all have. When we're young, we feel like we have it at an endless rate, and it's unwavering, and it goes on and on and on. But that's not true. I remember, I'm 38 years old. You know, I remember being 21 like it was yesterday. Like it was yesterday. I remember being
Mm-hmm.
21 years old. Snap your finger. If you do a turnaround, you're 38.
Wow.
You just want to do something that's really resonates with people, that
Mm-hmm.
that that lands. And for someone to call and say that this show got him through that time where he lost his daughter, that meant everything.
Mm-hmm.
That meant everything. I could do shows for the next 40, 50 years. And, that's enough for me to always want to keep going because look, you mentioned when you listen to talk radio or sports content in whatever form it may be distributed as,
Mhm.
um, you know, high angst or high stakes and what have you. Look, we're not operating on the human brain. We're not splitting the atom. We're not doing anything too complex. We're doing something that should be fun. It should be an easy listen. And if I'm not, you know, demonstrating that and I'm not putting that vibe out there, how can I expect the audience to want to be a part of that? It shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't be something that is anxiety ridden. So I take a lot of pride in having a relaxed show, and but that moments like those, you can't, you can't put enough words on what that means to you in your career and how you feel you're living into your purpose. Because at the end of the day, we're all trying to find our unique purpose in this world.
Exactly, exactly. Shep, as we've been talking about this sports media landscape, and honestly, I really appreciate what you've had to say. So so good, so much wisdom in there. Do you have any advice for like any people looking to go into the sports media landscape, like myself, or anybody else who may have come across this podcast? Any advice for just how to get a good head start and really, really become successful? Obviously, in this very, very evolving sports media landscape.
I have a lot of advice. I have a lot of advice because I've learned through trial and error myself.
Yes.
Uh, First of all, uh, do something how you would do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you do has your signature, has your name, has your reputation. It's a really small business that we're in with a lot of the same people that continue to pop up at different places, but same names. And so I say that to say, when you do this, a lot of times you're asked to do something on an entry level. Now, yes, you can start a YouTube channel and you can start a podcast that goes viral, hits the right audience at the right time in the right space. Yeah. But even to this day, that's one in a million, right?
Mm-hmm.
That blows up. And people think, well, because of the era we're in, you can start your own job. You can create your own job. You don't have to necessarily go to a company like it was the case 20, 30 years ago. But even then, the space is so competitive and it's so oversaturated that to be really successful, you also have to get lucky. You have to have the right sponsorships. You have to have the right people behind you, right? So there's so many factors that go into the podcasting YouTube space. And so I say that to say, when you do a job, you have to do that job to the absolute best of your ability.
Mm-hmm.
And you will be judged on that. First impressions matter. When you show up to do a job, get to know the people you're working with, build relationships, know about their lives, connect with them, because you can be the most gifted orator in the world. If you can't get along with people, there's only so many opportunities that are going to come your way. Doesn't matter how talented you are. So, right now, you're at the University of
Wisconsin
Wisconsin.
lacrosse.
Right. So, are you going out of your way to build relationships with your peers
Mm-hmm.
and to truly connect with them, because they're going to be your greatest resource? It's a people business. The reason I have my opportunity, and I got very fortunate, is because I happened to connect with David Marinick. David Marinick is someone who was the program director for the Infinity Sports Network, once CBS Sports Radio. I'd like to believe that I made an investment in building a relationship with him, in getting to know him. Um, because of that, when there were opportunities to guest host and get a crack at being on the air, I was top of mind because, I was building on our friendship and I was building on that relationship. So much of this industry is about relationships,
Mhm.
connections, you know, following up with people. When someone reaches out to you, are you good at getting back to that person and helping that person out? Because you never know. Like Thomas, like you may be, who knows, the next Pat McAfee, the next Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
Different style, but you may have that kind of success. I may be
Mhm.
talking to the greatest person to ever enter this space. I may.
Wow.
Now,
Yep.
now, now, I guarantee you, right? You're gonna
Mhm.
remember bringing me on. You're gonna remember the level of respect that I showed you. I should be
Mhm.
doing that regardless.
Yes.
But reputation matters. Reputation is a big thing. And the last thing I'll say is,
Okay.
and this is true for anything, this isn't just true for sports broadcasting. A no is temporary.
Mhm.
A no is temporary. When I was at SiriusXM and I was meeting with certain executives and I was trying to build those relationships and I kept asking, what can I do to be on the air? How can I get on the air? How can I break through? The same response every single time. You have to go to another market. You have to go to another market. You can't do it through here. We haven't had someone do that here in over 10 years
Mhm.
in the sports department. You got to go to another market. I said, okay. Okay. They said, were you going to go to another market? I said, no, no. I said, I'm going to crack the code. And they said, good luck trying. It's not going to happen here. I said, okay. So I kept sending demos. I kept sending demos. I kept sending demos. I kept sending demos. I kept doing YouTube. You know, I kept doing guest spots. Eventually, it was the right time. They said, we've seen so much of your work. We'll give you a shot. 4 years later, you know, I've been hosting on SiriusXM NBA radio. So
Wow.
a no is temporary. You can't, and this is and Thomas, I can't emphasize this enough. This is not just true for our specific medium. It's true for
Mhm.
anything you do in life. The person that has to believe more in you than anyone else is always yourself. That is going to be the biggest obstacle you have in the industry. That's going to be the best friend you've had in this industry. How do you tap into that? Because it's all subjective.
Yeah.
You could you could put me on first take and I could have be in Stephen A. Smith's chair
Mhm.
and I can do the same job he can. You can put me in Colin Coward's chair. You can put me in Rich Eisen's chair. Now, some people might be listening to this or watching this, Thomas, and saying, that's insane. You can't do what they do. Why not?
Mhm.
I I believe I can. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. That can't be my measure of how I feel about myself. The measure I feel about myself has to come from within. I have to assign my value. Can't be anyone else.
Wow. That was exemplary. Exemplary, Shep. Um, to end this podcast on a high note, here, Shep. Well, not disregarding anything that you said, but obviously we have the MLB All Star break coming right around the corner on Monday. Who do you like for the MLB Home Run Derby? Any person
Man,
you got your eye?
yeah, it's tough to doubt what Cal Riley's doing this season, man. He's what a story. I mean, more home runs before the All-Star break than at any point of his 5-year career. Um, you saw what he did with that upper deck shot at Yankee Stadium. I just feel like it's his year. I just feel like it's his time. Man, the Mariners got a really good deal on that recent contract extension because this was the year to have before a contract extension. But I like Kyle Raleigh, and what a story that is for Seattle, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Shep, I know you got to get some show prep in here too, and honestly, I really, really, really respect your time and everything, and so much great advice, so much that I know I will take to heart, and hopefully the listeners as well can apply at least just a little bit of your great wisdom into their lives and future career as well. So I want to say thank you so much for joining the show. Continue to do what you do. So much respect for you, man. And hope to have you again on the show sometime too.
Yeah, anytime, man. And you asked really good questions, and you did a really good job listening. And I appreciate the back and forth. Can we end on a question I have for you?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So my question for you is, what's your vision for yourself in this industry and in this space? Where do you see yourself? How do you see the impact of you in 15, 20, 25 years from now? What's Thomas Greeny's ultimate goal on that vision board?
Yeah, great question. So my vision and goal as we head in the next 10 to 15 years is to really build a network, to really build connections and a network where no matter how low I start, that I can create a show or go in somewhere and be able to be a great smiling face and be able to brighten someone's day. Like you mentioned in the story, right? Especially if someone's having a bad day or whatever. So many times people compliment me for the energy and just the enthusiasm that I bring to my employers, and just be able to um, bring knowledge about what's going on in the sports industry, but also be able to interact with people too while doing so. So
Great, it's a
awesome.
great space to be in, man. Well, listen, like I said, man, you're doing everything you should be doing, and you know, it's a blessing to know your worth, and it sounds like you certainly have that in spades. So
Thank you.
more power to you, man. And just remember, a no is not a no permanently. It never
Absolutely.
is. So.
Absolutely. Awesome. So I'll stop this right here.